I feel heat sleepy.
Yeah.
Slow. Precepts tonight. It's the same link now, and it's 6:45 to 7:45. Everyone is welcome. And the Vimalakirti Sutra. So here's sort of what I have planned, and then we'll see what actually happens. Little review. And then I want to share some of Joan Sutherland's commentary. And then using Thich Nhat Hanh, he pulls forward certain parts of the Vimalakirti Sutra, and I want to share that so we have some grounding in the actual sutra. And then we'll see where we are and what we have to say about it. So I thought I would just start with the actual sutra itself. And it's the last paragraph in the introduction. The Vimalakirti Sutra seems to delight more in confronting us with contradictions and dilemmas than in offering easy answers. It seems to delight more in confronting us with contradictions and dilemmas than in offering easy answers. Kind of sounds like life, doesn't it? Particularly life right now. It is a deliberately challenging text. Well, we'll see. I find it delightful, actually, but we'll see. It's a delightfully challenging text, one that utilizes all the drama, wit, humor, and persuasiveness of language it can summon up in order to awaken us to new dimensions of thought, new levels of religious awakening, and action of which we had previously been unaware. In doing so, it vividly reflects the spirit of the Mahayana movement in one of its creative and inspired moments. So this is, if you're confounded, that's okay. If you're delighted, please be delighted. And this is full of, as we mentioned and validated both through Joan Sutherland, she calls it more mythological, and Thich Nhat Hanh says it's like a play. And he actually, when the way he does his commentary on it is he sets it up in terms of almost different acts. I can't remember exactly what he does, but it has that feeling of, okay, now we're in the next scene. Now we're in the next scene. So here's a little review. Joan Sutherland says that another name for this sutra is the reconciliation of dualities. And we'll see as we go along, I was thinking about this too in terms of the precepts, is non-duality. She uses the word non-duality instead of emptiness, which we often do, but both of them are a little deceptive and I remember, I think this is what I remember hearing Norman Fisher saying that he was invited to speak at a conference that was about duality and non-duality. And he said, I don't understand non-duality. There's no such thing. Because the minute you make something, it turns into its non-duality. The reason you know non-duality is in comparison to duality. So we're being asked to go beyond, which is the imaginal and the creative realm. And that's why maybe making this of play and delighting in not, it's a little bit like Dogen, pre-Dogen. Dogen, as frustrating as Dogen is, the more you learn to dwell in Dogen, it's also delightful because he's clearly delighting in, he won't give you any place to land. The minute he gives you something, he pulls something out. And then it's like a somersault, and then you're over there and you go, ah, and then it's like he pulls it out, which is exactly like life, which is exactly why I think, maybe especially in this time, people are so hunkered down in dualities. People are just scared and just want something to be something. It's like, just give me an answer, give me black or white. And clearly there's a comfort zone into that, and clearly we'll kill each other over it, because uncertainty is, we human beings don't like that so much. So she says it's a coming together of vastness and the particular. Everything has a name. The minute you name something, it becomes something. And then it brings up, we're right back to the Anapanasati Sutta, and we'll go into that more today and Thursday. But it's the same thing. The minute you give it a name, you forget its aliveness. It brings up all of its mental formations and all of our emotions and likes and dislikes. But the practice of Zazen is alive. How can we meet each moment as alive? Which is coming together with a healed heart. Pure Land. We begin in a beautiful garden where everything's just lovely. Like, oh, finally, it's lush and it's green. There's a Hakuin, maybe a haiku at the beginning. This very place is paradise, this very body, the Buddha. And in this park there are 8,000 bhikkhus, monks and nuns, and 32,000 bodhisattvas. So it's a very full park. And the Buddha, takes questions, and Shariputra says, how can you say this is the Pure Land, Buddha? How can you say this is the Pure Land? It looks pretty miserable to me. There's suffering. How are you holding these dualities? I was thinking while I was sitting, or the thought was arising. You know, Suzuki Roshi was amazing at holding dualities, and it's so simple. He said it's perfect just as it is. You are perfect just as you are, and you could use a little improvement. It's perfect. This world is perfect just as it is, and it could use a little improvement. And I think we skip that part, that it's perfect just as it is, that we're perfect just as it is. And we immediately go into dualities because that's the way our brain goes. And it couldn't be a Pure Land, and I couldn't be a Buddha. So this is going to keep tossing us there. Vimalakirti is just like, Vimalakirti is not going to let go of this one. So, the Buddha says to all these assembled people, would one of you please go visit Vimalakirti, this wise, enlightened bodhisattva who seems to have penetrated and understood and embodied. It's perfect just as it is, and it could use a little improvement. And they're all afraid to go because they've all, in one way or another, met Vimalakirti, and Vimalakirti has at each time said to them, you know, you're kind of wise and you kind of get it, but you're still really caught in dualities. And so they all go away because they all think they're wise practitioners and they're all wise bodhisattvas. It's like, I'm not going back to that guy because it's uncomfortable. It makes me really uncomfortable. And finally, Manjushri, who's the bodhisattva of wisdom, says that he will go, and all 32,000 bodhisattvas and bhikkhus and bhikkhunis and more, they all go, and they fit into this little tiny room because Vimalakirti knows that they're coming, and he's asked that everything be taken out of his house, and so it's completely empty, which is a metaphor, of course. He's taken all the chairs out, and so all of these people fit in a 10 by 10 room, so we're already kind of off the map. You can't track this in your dualistic mind. And they kind of complain. I think it's Shariputra kind of complains. The room is completely empty and there's no chairs here. So we were just in this great park. It was really comfortable, and now you put us in this empty room. Doesn't seem to even notice that all these people are fitting here somehow, but there's no room. And Vimalakirti says, in the way that he does, let me ask you, did you come for the way? Are you coming to wake up and to for the depth of aliveness, or do you just want some place to sit? Do you just want to be comfortable? And then they're all probably a little ashamed, and maybe, then Vimalakirti goes through all the Buddhist teachings, says you have to give up all this. Whatever your ideas are, just keep looking more deeply, because your ideas are just going to keep you small and caught. There's wisdom in them, but it's alive wisdom. He says, you accept, or Joan Sutherland sort of paraphrases, you accept the condition of seatlessness and stand on bare ground. And when you do that, what walks towards you? What walks towards you is life. And then I was thinking, this is the way my mind works. Do you remember Fruit Basket Upset when you were a kid? You remember that, where you all look blank? It was a game where there were chairs, and they would pull one chair out. So it was short one chair.
Different name.
Yeah.
Different name.
And you'd go around and there was
musical chairs.
Oh, musical chairs. And yeah. So and when the music would stop, everybody would run like mad to find a chair. And I remember as a kid the terror of the uncertainty of that the music was going to stop and I wasn't going to get a chair.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the birthplace of compassion. I mean, maybe I was just self-centered, but somebody wasn't going to get a chair. So now there's no chairs, but we're always afraid the ground or the chairs are going to be pulled out from under us. So there you go. Joan Sutherland invokes Suzuki Roshi when he was asked, what's the essence of Zen? And he said, it's 2 words. Oh, he said, I just got the joke. I think I got it other times. Not always so. You get the joke. It's not 2 words, it's 3 words. Sorry. Not always so. That's the essence of Zen. That's the essence of life. And in Chinese, it's also often called not two, and sometimes called not one, not two. So Vimalakirti is both lay and spiritual, which I think often we think, and certainly back in that time, that's why this sutra was written, is those poor lay people just sort of, they're just not good for anything except being lay people, and the spiritual people all look like monks. Or bodhisattvas, and Vimalakirti's saying, oh, that's way too small. Keep going beyond and going beyond. Don't be so literal. It says it's not about renouncing family, but renouncing harmful views and bad habits. because that's what monks essentially do, is when you take full vows, so to speak, you're a home leaver, and in a most literal way, it would be renouncing your family, renouncing your home life. But Vimalakirti says, no. It's about waking up and letting go of your mind that keeps creating something set up against something else. He says it's not about putting on a robe. It's not about putting on a monastic robe, but about putting on practices like meditation, which you can do anywhere. Now, is that cool? Vimalakirti is just not going to let anybody get away with anything. So let me read you a little bit more about what Joan Halifax has to say. So it's not about letting go of family. It's not about, it is about letting go of family, by identification with family, but you can do it completely in the midst of the world. It's not about putting on some special robe that makes you a transcendent being. It's what's the skin that you're wearing, and how do you wear it, which is Buddha's body. And the same goes for what you consider your place of practice. It's not a physical location, but your own heart mind, your resolve and curiosity and aspiration, your generosity and vows and forbearance, not to mention the intricate web of causes and conditions and earthly desires and everything that lives. It's like you can't remove yourself from this no matter how hard you try. We make the temple or mountain hermitage or ancient shrine for our practice out of the stuff and matter of our daily lives, out of our moments in the sunlight and under the stars. Even quiet sitting has nothing to do with sitting quietly. Even quiet sitting has nothing to do with sitting quietly. Mood. True quiet sitting is being in deep meditation while going about what Vimalakirti calls the ceremonies of daily life. Having a heart-mind fixed neither on externals nor on internal states. He doesn't elaborate, but it's natural to wonder what that third state of heart-mind is, that includes both inner and outer, but's defined by neither one, which we'll find out later is called the middle way. Because Buddhism always says it's both, it's neither, it's right down the middle, and it's completely all inclusive. And she says, clear out the bramble thickets of twos, divisions, categories, and separations, and then connect with what has been artificially sundered. Bring things back together again. What is the view, and what is the eye, and what is the way of living that sees things as perfect just as it is, and it could use a little improvement? That applies not only to our relationships with each other, the apparently infinite inability of human beings to find different categories of us and them, but also between us and the other creatures of the world, between us and the natural world as a whole. I was just reading before this about a peace village in Israel that had both Palestinians and Israelis there practicing peace. So it's in the New Yorker. I didn't get to finish it. But just how in this time, it's all just divided. All the divisions are there again. And everybody's kind of afraid of everybody else. Because when people get scared, when we get traumatized, we go back, I would say, to our tribal mentalities. Which is not to say that horrible things haven't happened on both sides, but this is, to me, completely relevant. So how do we be bodhisattvas of the tilty world? Great. Part of taking up the way of not to is accepting the offer this world makes to us. which is to be an unbalanced being in an unbalanced world. There's not something wrong, that it's tilty. It's just the nature of it. It's like, how do we be in groundless ground? If the negative qualities of the offer are obvious, there's also a positive quality, which is a kind of creativity. We don't just look at the instability of the world as the cause of suffering and complications. We can also see it as a source of creative response to those very difficulties. We keep coming back to this again and again, that that's what Buddha nature is. It's alive and it's creative and it's potent and it's full of possibilities, infinite possibilities, but you have to meet each moment just exactly as it is. The minute you try to impose, there's a great story, another Suzuki Roshi story as I understand it, is that his teacher asked him to serve an honored teacher, and I think the first time he made all these mistakes. It's like he didn't know, he was trying really hard, but his teacher afterwards said, no, wrong. And then he finally, maybe the second time, thought he got it right because he went in a certain door and he held the tray in a certain way and he was aligned with the situation. But then the third time, he tried to do what he did the second time, and the teacher just said wrong because it was a completely different situation. Which is what we do all the time. I got it. I got it. But we're just not here meeting the world as it is. Vimalakirti implies that we bodhisattvas in training should avoid thinking of the bodhisattva as a template of perfection we're going to squeeze ourselves into. Give it up. In an off-balance world that invites our flexibility and improvisation, there are lots of different ways to be a bodhisattva, and then the sutra names many of them. And one of the profound beauties of the Mahayana vision is the sense that we human bodhisattvas aren't doing this alone, that everything in the world is engaged in the work of awakening. Everything is its own kind of bodhisattva, so it's an infinite collaborative work, the work of the Buddhas. In some worlds, radiant light does the work. In others, it might be gardens, groves, towers, clothing, food, the body, empty space, dreams, metaphors, world, silence, even the 84,000 earthly desires. In other words, pretty much everything. The minute you try to pull one thing out, the whole world will just toss you on your head and say, wake up, because everything is here trying to wake us up. So we, particularly human expressions of bodhisattvaness, have all these comrades to help us with our impossible promise to the world, which is Zazen body. Come back, because then 1,000 hands and eyes and Avalokiteshvara, there's infinite ways to respond to this if we listen deeply and intuitively. And Suzuki Roshi says if you're just using 2 hands, you're missing the other 998. That's the practice. It's a journey from enlightenment, from purity to endarkenment. There's her word. The large-hearted bodhisattva on his sickbed, not afraid to go anywhere. Vimalakirti is just there in his sickbed, completely sick. Some of this says he's pretending to be sick because because an enlightened being really couldn't be sick, so he's pretending to be sick. But I kind of think he's just sick, for goodness sakes. But he kind of knows he's pretending. I mean, I don't think he's so identified with his sickness. But when you're sick, just be sick. He doesn't need to go anywhere or engage with anyone. It's complicated, just being sick, just being exactly where you are. And that there is where, she calls it soul work. It's warm, and it's tender, and it's uncomfortable, and it's slow, and there's a heartbeat, and you can't be clever or wise or insightful. It means body, staying with the body and the practice body. Okay, so I hope you're still awake enough because I want to read you just a few things. And if you're not, it's okay, you can take a nap. So Manjushri walks in the room. Maybe this will put you to sleep. No coming, no going. Manjushri right away says, anyway, they get into a whole thing about coming and going, which I just want to bring that forward because I think this is an amazing koan that more and more moves me, is of course there's coming and going. You came here and you're going to go somewhere, but that's just an idea. Where is it you think you came from and where is it you think you're going? I mean, and whatever that, I mean, please get in your car, drive carefully, you have a home, but all that also is it's complete, you're pretending that it's all there. I mean, really, you have no idea what it is or what's going to happen next or even what your home is or who you are. So there's both coming and going, and there is no coming and going. It's just this moment, this moment, this moment. Does that make sense? I really love that. It makes me really happy. When one comes, one does not come from anywhere. When one goes, one does not go anywhere. What is it to be that alive in a way in each moment? So they start out kind of, dualism, non-dualism, and then Manjushri just stops and realizes, and this reminds me of the Lotus Sutra, and just realizes that he hasn't said to Vimalakirti, how are you? So he just kind of stops this whole thing and just says, how's your health? Which is pretty fundamental, right? It's just to greet another human being is how are you? And what is the cause of your sickness? And how long have you been unwell? And what needs to be done to regain your health? And Vimalakirti says, again, Vimalakirti is always going to cut through this. My sickness comes from the ignorance associated with craving. My sickness comes from the confusion that comes from not understanding that I am from craving, which is there's something wrong with this situation that I'm going to get that's going to make it better. That's the sickness, which is what we all have, right? So, something's finally going to come and make this settle down, and we're going to be in comfort forever. It's nice you laughed. And then he says, which is a very famous line in here, because beings are sick, I am sick. Because beings are sick, I am sick. If living beings are no longer sick, my sickness will automatically be cured. Thich Nhat Hanh's comment is, all things inter-are. My sickness is your sickness. I'm taking on the sickness of duality. I'm pretending to be sick. I will be completely sick. I will be completely whatever this world gives me to be here with all of you who are confused in the duality of being a human being. But as you wake up and I wake up with you, the whole world will be healed. And that's what bodhisattvas do. A bodhisattva wants to be healed. If he wants to be healed, he must act to heal all living beings. When living beings are healed, the bodhisattva is healed. The reason why the bodhisattva is sick is because of his compassion. You take on the form of a human being and you take on and be whatever it is, whether it's each person is taking on whatever the causes and conditions and karma of their life is out of compassion. Because the old view was, I'm just going to get out of here. You guys are a mess. This world is a mess. Bodhisattva says, no. I'm going to be here and I'm going to completely be human with whatever is here. And the more I do that, the more my heart opens. And the more my heart opens, your heart opens. The bodhisattva, this is Thich Nhat Hanh, feels the pain of living beings as their own pain. Because they have seen the truth of interbeing, that because you are sick, I am sick. And even though you are in your ivory tower, in your sangha, and observing your precepts, you still feel the pain of your society. To be a true bodhisattva, you must experience sickness. But you know that in order for the sickness of loving beings to be healed, you have to heal your sickness first. A bodhisattva learns the art of healing so that they can heal themselves and so help living beings on the planet to heal. And what is more, the bodhisattva does not leave the healing process to start too late. Even before the sickness is too serious, they know that every step and every breath can heal. At any moment, one can fall sick. You may think you're healthy. You may think everything's fine, but the whole world could turn upside down at any moment. So don't wait till it's upside down. Pay attention to this moment and this breath. So we can say, because living beings are sick, I am sick, but we should also say, because I am healed, living beings are healed. The great aspiration of the bodhisattva is that for as long as living beings suffer, they will stay in the world of living beings to help them heal. They are not afraid of birth, sickness, old age, and death, and will ride on these waves in order to rescue beings who are drowning. One more thing, then I'll stop. I am sick because the whole world is sick. This is the purest formulation of Vimalakirti's absolute, unquestioned, unmitigated, unbuffered, uncompromised allegiance to this world. I am the world and the world is me. We have one condition, and when the world's heart is breaking, my heart breaks. When the morning star rises, I rise with it. I am the sorrow of the world and its joy, and we share the same fate. To love is to love the world, and to hate is to hate the world. The world's healing is my healing, in which I have an infinitesimal and essential part. It is that simple, that naked and open, that settled in the deepest places, the underground delta where the river of my heart-mind meets the sea of the worlds. Here is my condition out of which everything else flows, which is bodhicitta, the intention to awaken, because my awakening is the world's awakening. I am awakening because the whole world is awakening. Okay. What is awakening? What is it that, what is this, what is it to the whole, that everything is perfect just as it is, and it could use a little improvement? What is it to wake up to that which goes beyond dualities and completely accepts dualities? Or whatever, what in the world is this talking about? What's it mean to you? Okay, you got, let's go into twos. I'll put you into twos.